Hey guys, my name's Evan Pardue, and I'm the Nursery Manager over here at Underhill Bonsai. Today we're going to be going over really simple Bonsai 101 tips and tricks to keep your bonsai healthy and happy. Just so you guys know, what I've got here is a Procumbens juniper. There is a Procumbens Nana, which is the super dwarf of this particular variety, but this is the regular size, so this one has the ability to get much bigger. So if you have a juniper very similar to this will be very helpful information for you. Juniper bonsai require full sun and usually require about once a day watering depending on your environment. Down in southeast Louisiana, it's very hot here, so we can water up to 2 times a day with these junipers, but it's preferable to let the juniper dry down before you do the next watering. Whenever you need to let a tree dry down, that is in reference to watering the soil line until you see the water rise to the top and then come out the bottom of the tree. Once that happens, you want to go in and make sure that the entire soil surface is completely saturated. The next time that you water, you should be looking for a slight dryness at the top here, and if you poke your finger down roughly about 1 knuckles worth down into the soil, if it feels damp, then the tree is not completely dried down just yet. You might want to wait a couple more hours before you do your next watering. When it comes to trimming your juniper bonsai, you want to trim to shape and trim the shape that you desire your bonsai to potentially look like. With this particular tree has been trimmed to really show off its beautiful curving trunk line and to accentuate all these really gnarly snags of deadwood that are coming out of the trunk in various parts here. So make sure that when you are trimming your tree that you are showing the best features of your bonsai, and at the same time, especially with juniper bonsai like this, that we are keeping plenty of foliage on the tree to keep it happy and healthy, because when it comes to most trees, the energy is produced in the foliage. If you don't have a lot of foliage, then you don't have a very healthy tree. So keep as much foliage on as possible when trimming and shaping and designing your bonsai. So another big question I get from a lot of beginners as well is, when do I repot my bonsai? So in order to tell when your bonsai needs to be repotted, we generally check the top soil. So just like when we're checking to see if the tree needs to be watered or not, we check down in that first 1/4 inch or knuckle length of soil, and if you feel a bunch of roots there, the tree is root bound and it may be time to repot your tree. But this also depends on species. Some species prefer to be very root bound, so they have a robust root system and they can keep very healthy and have a lot of water retention. Whereas other times, like a juniper, we want to make sure that there's plenty of water flow. If there's ever water traps or areas in the soil where the water pulls up and doesn't penetrate the soil very well, it will be very close to the time that you will need to repot. Typically, in most regions of the world, we repot bonsai trees in the early springtime. That is because from the winter dormancy, we're going into a push where energy is being moved from the root systems or the base of the tree up towards the top of the tree. So at that time of that energy transfer, we can actually go in and safely practice root pruning practices and minimize the amount of roots to go back into the same container or even go into a slightly larger container depending on our bonsai's needs. Now, we're not always trying to go into a smaller container or go into a larger container when we repot. We are looking for aesthetics and overall health of the tree before we make any decisions on container size. For wiring your bonsai, just like trimming, you want to put the wire on the tree so that you can get the desired shape that you want from your tree. Sometimes cut and grow is not the only answer that we can use. Cut and grow is useful for trees that are established and are much older, like this tree. So cutting a few shoots back or cutting a few branches back will help us get the desirable silhouette, whereas a piece of wire can take a branch that maybe have a slight issue and where it's placed so that we can just maneuver it around and really guide that growth where we want it to be. In Japan, they call wiring fast bonsai because traditionally most bonsai trees were created from cut and grow are using simple things like putting a fish weight and a piece of string on a branch just to lower it down and then trim to shape. Whereas with bonsai wire, we can literally change every single angle and every single dimension of that branch. So another thing that I get asked a good bit out here at the nursery is, where do bonsai trees like to grow? And so one of the things that I have to tell you guys right off the bat, I don't want to bum anyone out, is that bonsai trees are best grown outdoors. In fact, every tree that we grow here at the nursery grows outdoors exclusively. So you can grow some species indoors, but there is a huge difference between what is going to flourish and what is going to be happy indoors versus outdoors. So I always highly recommend, especially with junipers such as this one, that you keep your tree outdoors all year long, no matter what time of year it is. Some species, such as tropicals, require a winter protection, such as a greenhouse. Other species, like Japanese maples, require summertime protection, like a shade cloth, like you see up here in our professional bonsai garden area. And whenever it comes to keeping your trees outside, you want to keep them in a very sunny spot, in a spot where they'll get plenty of morning sun and some good afternoon shade so that the middle of the day doesn't boil them to death. Another thing to keep in mind too is that you want your trees to be in the best viewing point of your garden. So if your trees are really important to you and you've put a lot of time and investment in them, it would be best that you put them on a display stand such as you see the one here, or the tables that you see behind me here, to give them the best airspace between them and to keep them elevated off the ground so they don't get kicked by people or pushed over or knocked over for no reason, or just simply keeping bugs out of them like ants and other pests that will dig in their soil. Now that we have a pretty definitive guide on how to care for our bonsai, let's kind of talk about the actual benefits of keeping our tree watered, fertilized, knowing when to repot, knowing where to put it in your garden. Everything goes together here and meshes really well, keeping the tree optimally happy and healthy. By being elevated on the stand here, oxygen is freely flowing in and out of the root system, water is freely draining through the soil, and light and air is freely flowing through the entire tree. This will keep your trees the best top shape that they can be kept in. It doesn't matter what range of the world or region of the world you live in. Most bonsai, when kept in these environments, and also keeping in mind what requirements as far as zoning is required in your part of the world, will keep your tree the happiest. So like I've stated before, now that you know that junipers can be bonsai, but you see there's plenty of other trees behind me, let me just tell you guys really quick about a few other varieties or species that can be bonsai as well. First, the conifers, which are the junipers and also pine trees. Pine trees make wonderful bonsai as well, and we have a few examples here at the nursery. Also, deciduous trees. In Southeast Louisiana, we are a very deciduous, prominent area, so I have a lot of elms, maples, and other varieties that have broadleaf that fall off in the wintertime is what deciduous actually means. And then also tropical plants. Tropical trees include stuff like ficuses and hibiscus and other various plants that are not winter hardy and are quite tender, but these make excellent bonsai as well. Well, thank you guys for tuning in with me to talk about how to care for your new bonsai. Good luck to you, and if you have any questions, you can contact me in 3 different ways. One, you can contact me via email, evan@underhillbonsai.com, or you can contact me on my Facebook page or my Instagram, Underhill Bonsai, or Little Things for Bonsai People, our podcast show, which is also another Instagram handle you guys can contact me through. I hope to see you guys soon, and good luck with your bonsai and grow beautiful bonsai trees.